Good morning, or afternoon, or evening, depending on when you tune in to Reset this week. Years ago, when my wife and I purchased our first home, we moved in next door to an absolutely incredible couple. And as the years went by, we developed a very close relationship with them. And one of the things that was just very evident, especially in the gentleman's life, was his faith. Now today, he is approaching the century mark. 97 years old, actually. And over the years, we've continued to have relationships with him, and the stories that have come through his heart and the things that he has shared has just been absolutely incredible statements of faith. Stories that, not just to him, but to those who listen and to us, they're stories that not only are true, but they are very evident that God has worked in his life. God has heard prayer, and God has responded to prayer. I think in this day of age of technology, of course, technology is good. We're able to deliver this message today through great technology, through video editing and through the internet and things of that sort. But in some ways, it's become very convoluted, and we're stimulated in so many different ways in so many different areas that sometimes we forget just the simplicity of our Creator, that there is a God that has created all this. As I sit by this beautiful brook and these gorgeous variety of trees, only something beyond ourselves can create something so beautiful. He also created a sun that he actually sent to earth so we could see a piece of kingdom, a piece of the kingdom, a piece of heaven, for all that matter. And that he did give his son, and now he reigns at the right hand of God the Father, and there will be a day that every knee shall bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus reigns. So one of the stories that this gentleman has shared with me, and the reason I refer to him as this gentleman, is he wants to share a story today, but he also wants to be anonymous. So we sat down in his living room a couple of days ago, and we recorded audio that he wants to share, just one of the many stories that I have heard over the years, how evident it is that God was in his life, that Jesus heard his prayers, and not only heard them, but also responded. So take a listen as the gentleman shares this story.
I was born June the 25th of 1926 out on the prairie of South Dakota. I was born on a kitchen table. My dad was the doctor. My folks moved out there in 1910, and my father became a rancher after he got the land that the government gave him. From 1910 to 1929, he done well, but and they had 5 children. 1929, the banks went bust. So my father lost everything. And these were good Christian people, my mother and my father both. In fact, he had a church built in South Dakota. He was the biggest hand in getting it done. And He also started Sunday school classes, which they had never even heard of. We packed up and we left South Dakota and came to Iowa. He worked with his cousin hauling coal and ice until he found the farm. And then we moved to the farm, which was about 8.5 miles outside of Wapello, Iowa. And we started going to school, and it was a country school. Of course, farmers move in March, the 1st of March. So we farmed until, that was 1935, and we farmed till 1941 in April, when I was with my father in the car, and we had a flat tire. And it was on the opposite side, away from the gravel road, which you couldn't pull over only so far because you couldn't jack the car up. So we had to stay out on the road. Now this early evening, it's just starting to get dark. And so my dad told me to go around and loosen the wheel while he got the jack out and got it ready. Well, in the meantime, 2 drunks came down the road and hit him. And they threw him about 25 feet down the road behind our car. Well, it knocked me into the ditch because the car knocked me over into the ditch. So I got up and I couldn't find my dad, and he finally was hollering. He said, "Son, I'm down behind the car." So I got close enough I could see him, and I could see he was hurt pretty bad. And there was a farmhouse just so luck, but it had a real long driveway. So now I'm just a scrawny 15-year-old kid. And I said, I'm gonna carry you to that house. Well, then they turned on the lights. And he said, "Son, you can't carry me." And I said, "Yes, I can." So I bent down and I told him, I said, "You put your arm around my neck." Now I don't think I'd probably weighed maybe 75 pounds soaking wet. My dad was a man who weighed about 170, 180 pounds. A raw bone man. So I told him to put his arm around my neck, and I reached down underneath him. That's when God came in. I asked him to help me. I picked that man up. I carried him probably 200 yards up to this house. By then they were out on the porch. She took me in the house, around and into a bedroom, and just had me pay him right on the bed. That was the first real time that I spoke to God, and He answered.
Just one of the most incredible stories. I wish we could make this a full feature film because that's just one of the many, many, many statements of faith that this gentleman has shared with me throughout his life. In the 41st chapter of Isaiah, it says that, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." And of course, also in Matthew, in the 28th verse, it talks about when Jesus goes back to heaven and he gives that great commandment to go and make disciples of all the earth. "And I am with you until the end of time." One more story before we leave today, and I hope that you found this gentleman's testimony powerful. Think back in times of your life when you've called out to God and He's answered. Sometimes we feel like He doesn't hear us, but He always hears us. This gentleman was being called out by a small voice, and it was prompting him to write a song. And he'd never written a song before, but that still small voice just kept saying, you know, give honor and glory to me, give honor and glory to my name. So finally it was in the middle of the night, finally one night he just said, okay, Lord, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write this out, and whatever may come of it. Well, that was back in 2020, and a couple years later, we're talking together, and he said, "Hey, Dave, God had given me this song. I really don't know why or what to do with it, but I know you're a musician, so here's the lyrics, and see if there's something that you can do." Well, to make a long story short, a few weeks later, went into to my home studio and put these beautiful testimonial lyrics to music. And so we leave it today, and I'm sharing it with you.
I have a new song I'd like to sing. It's all about Jesus and His reign as King. He takes our own hand to show us the way. We're only human, and sometimes we stray, and that's why we need Him. That's why He came. That's why we have Him, to call on His name. Trust we put in Him. Let not your guard down. When you're feeling in trouble, He's always around. I have a new song I'd like to sing. It's all about you, reign as King. That's why we need Him. That's why He came. Now that we have Him, we call out His name. His name. His name. He came from heaven above and brought with Him His true sweet love. That's why we need Him. That's why He came. And now we have Him to call on His name. I have a new song I'd like to sing.
I doubt that that song will ever be on K-Love. I doubt that millions of people are going to ever hear it. But what matters most is that it came from his heart to God's ears to give him honor and glory for all of the amazing things that he has done in this gentleman's life. And I hope that as you get out and enjoy the summer and you enjoy these warm days that we have, that you'll take a moment and you'll think about all the times that God has either very vividly or superficially come into your life, answered your prayers, and watched over you. So have a great day, and I hope you've been blessed by not just this reset, but the many resets that we have done and the many resets that are to come.